Hello and welcome into Devils in Detail headquarters here in downtown Phoenix. And for the last time this season, that's Ethan Scmidt. I'm Nick Batters. And Ethan, let's wrap up this Arizona State hockey season. The Sun Devils just finished off their slate this past weekend against the U.S. U18 team. Ethan, who do you think was the MVP of this team?
Well, it's hard to argue that it was graduate transfer Robbie Balarjian. He came in, had second lead for goals and led the team in assists. So a huge part of why the Sun Devils were able to manage this season.
That's true, I agree.
And then I want to ask you, who is your MVP goalie?
MVP goalie, it's really hard to disagree with it being Rob Levin. This kid was unreal. He was the team's leading goalie, frankly. He had more wins than anyone else. He had more ties in goal than anyone else. And he had the lowest goals against average of any goalie this team. So Rob Levin really was the star goalie. It's going to be tough for this Arizona State team to lose him. Now, Ethan, I'll ask you, who do you think was the most underrated player on this team?
Most underrated player for me, I got to go Brenton Pashnuk. The freshman just really was a silent leader on the blue line, had scored some big goals and led the team in block shots. So big player for me.
Personally, I think it was Anthony Croston. Croston really flew under the radar as a sophomore on this team. He was given the assistant captain partway through the season, and I think he did great things for this team. He led the team in goals scored, really went unnoticed this season, and I think that was one of the better parts of the season for Arizona State. Now, what do you think was the best game of the season for ASU?
Personally, I think it was the Ohio State matchup. You mentioned that it was nationally televised. We watched it together. I remember that.
That's right.
That was a fun time, a huge game, lots of excitement for them to be down, tie the game, go into OT and win in a shootout, even though it statistically goes down as a tie.
That's true.
And I want to ask you, on a lower note, though, what the worst game for the Sun Devils were when you look back at it.
Man, that Notre Dame game was extremely tough at the beginning of the season. 116 penalty minutes. That's borderline cruel. It was a bad game all across the board for Arizona State. They allowed 9 goals, and that was just a really rough way to start the season. I mean, they improved a lot going forward, but just not what you want to do if you're a college hockey program.
Yeah, absolutely. Pretty bad game to start out with, but they definitely got better throughout the season. What do you think was their biggest improvement?
I think that the biggest way that they improved was, frankly, just their play on the ice. Their speed increased so much over the course of this season. Their agility was faster, and they just looked like a completely different team out there from the beginning of the season to the point at the end of the season. It was a really great thing to see. I have to imagine it was great for the players. What do you think was the weakest point of play for the Sun Devils this year?
Well, you talked about it starting off really slow in the first game of the season against Notre Dame. It was definitely special teams. The Sun Devils struggled to stay out of the box. It got better over the course of the season, but the Sun Devils unable to capitalize on a lot of power play chances and also struggling to stay out of the box. It kind of set them apart in some games, even losing them some games, like, for example, allowing 3 power play goals and losing by 3 goals to Quinnipiac in that first game of their 2-game series. And then I want to ask you, what was a big strength for the Sun Devils this season?
Honestly, I think the place that they strengthened up the most was just experience, because in athletics, I think for any sport, the only way that you're going to get better is to consistently play. And this team played a lot of really tough teams. They had that 9-game stretch at the beginning of the season against ranked teams, and they went 1-8. They learned so much playing really good teams. 21 of their 32 games this season were against ranked opponents. That's insane. That's over 2/3 of their contests this season, and I have to imagine they learned so much, and just having that experience has to have a great sense of pride.
Yeah, and especially having a lot of depth and being such a young team going forward, it's going to be big for them.
Now, lastly, I'll ask you, where do you think the Sun Devils need to improve most if they want to have a successful 2017-18 campaign?
You know, Nick, I really think it's just consistency going forward. They need to keep taking the steps that they are taking. Such a big improvement from the start of the season to the end of the season. And special teams, I mentioned it before, staying out of the box and scoring power play goals, it's what's going to win you a hockey game. And obviously, picking up offensive production. We saw it improve over the course of the season from the Sun Devils, but it just needs to continue and take those steps and keep getting better.
That's all that we have for you today here in the Cronkite Studios for Devils in Detail. Again, this is the last time we'll be here this semester. The Arizona State hockey season has come to a close. He's Ethan Scmidt. I'm Nick Batters. We want to thank you for following all of our Arizona State content for the hockey team this season. If you want to check out any more, head over to devilsindetail.com. Have a great day.